Stream time, skipping the intro. Stream time, stream time, stream time, stream time. Gonna take Twitch like I always do. Until I have a consistent viewer to tell me if my audio's broken. I'm gonna have to check the thing, and I'll do this every time. Hmm. Hmm. Hold. Audio working? I think it seems to be working. I think we're good. But of course, there's a 15-second delay, so I have to wait to check for sure. Okay, yeah, I think I'm good. I think we're rocking and rolling. All right, so today's adventure is going to be a two-parter, two books one day. And the reason for that is that this book I did not highlight many things from because I remember I read it. I don't think I liked it that much. I don't think I disliked it actively, but it definitely wasn't one of the books that kind of like stuck out to me as quote unquote memorable. So this should be a pretty fast one. And then there is a longer one following called Rich Dad Poor Dad, which is a book about finance. And funnily enough, I feel like I read that while I was in Paris, so my timing must be off. Because I feel like I remember reading that in like a cafe in Le Marais, and that was like 2018 or something. So I don't, because like in that last one, I was like, oh, I read this Four Agreements in a Mexico City um, airport, and that was definitely after Paris. I don't know. Anyway, I think my timing is off, or I read one in a different. I might have read a different book that was similar. Anyway, but we're going to start with posture, and then we're going to move into finance. Last stream we talked a lot about. I've been tagging these all here, so you'll notice a few things. One, I have this new plugin that when I scroll, it keeps things in the middle. The reason was is that I thought it was kind of annoying that it was always at the bottom of the screen for the stream. So this is kind of nice because now you can kind of like see all the lines that I'm in, uh, and I don't have to move the screen up to the middle of the stream. That's the idea, at least. We'll see how good it is. It is annoying that it kind of like leaves this huge empty space at the top here, but I guess that's something that people also did with typewriters because this is what this is based off of. Anyway, so I have these. One thing that I figured out that you could do is that you could use book ASINs to find any Zettelkasten that has the book in it. And then I took these Zettelkasten, these ASINs, and I put them in the live stream pages. So now these live stream pages are uploaded to YouTube under my second channel. Not that my first channel has that many subscribers, but I have a second channel that's for like kind of like long form content like this. But this is like, an hour and a half long, right? And it's just me doing that stream as well as talking about the Zettles that were made on the stream. So that's good. Those are all up now on the website. So yeah, I'm gonna do something similar for this one. After that's over, it didn't take too long, and I think it kind of is again important to tag in a. I think that there's like an argument to be made for tagging aggressively, and then there's an argument to be made for tagging really lightly. And I think both strategies have their pros and cons. Where if you tag aggressively, you might have too many things tagged, and still finding the right thing would be difficult. But if you tag too lightly, you'll have a lot of like kind of orphan notes that don't have a um, categorization, and it really depends on your Obsidian Vault's taxonomy. But if you're using something like BHOV, then you might want to do something similar where you kind of like tag by category, like broad category, and then kind of have narrower tags for things that pop up a lot. Like if you really um, like for me, for example, I'll usually tag Hunter x Hunter in a lot of things, and that's just because I watched a ton of Hunter x Hunter and it sticks out of my mind a lot. So I use it as a mental framework to kind of like see where I'm at with a lot of things. Anyway, new rules of posture. Your posture emerges from your interactions with the world around you. It emerges out of how you orient yourself to the events of life, how these events feel in your body, and how you move toward or away from the people or things involved. In time, your responses program the way that you stand and move. I think I picked this book up because I have like software engineer slash gamer posture. I've been kind of slouched ever since childhood. I think that early in my childhood, I was relatively athletic, but at some point in life, I just started slouching and I never stopped, right? So this book kind of focuses on how to improve your posture in a way that doesn't feel forced, I suppose. Our muscles wrap around our skeletons in layers, like layers of clothing. In general, the outer muscle layer provides the visible or produce the visible motion of the arms, leg, and trunk, while deeper muscles provide support for joints and internal organs. Contraction of these deep muscles lets us create the stability we need to control our actions. I was actually just thinking about this today because I was weightlifting a little bit earlier, and I was thinking about like kind of like the optimal exercise, and I don't really know. I have been like kind of really digging isometric exercises lately. So maybe like let's reword that in different words, and then kind of maybe reference another idea that could be uniquely attached to it. So let's say that outer muscle layers produce visible, while deeper muscles support the organs. So outer muscles provide the aesthetics, and inner muscles hold everything like goods in place. So the thing I was thinking of in particular is that I was watching or reading this thing about isometric exercise. So isometric get-ups are limited to singles. Pseudo isometric, a single get-up lasts on 30 seconds. If you were doing a bench press, you'd be able to do 8 clean paused reps in that time. Sets of 8 build strength. Sets of 16 to 24 just bump you up. Oh, here we go. You do have to repeatedly stress your muscles beyond their customary capacity, but shredding them isn't always necessary to promote that gene's growth. If you primarily want to gain strength, you'll get the bang for your buck by doing a slow, few demanding repetitions of weight. So, yeah, in general, it seems that lower repetition, slower repetition, slower, and a higher weight results in greater strength gains, and then higher rep lower weight fast movements result in like muscle gain or like power or endurance. create endurance type gains. And that was linked here. This guy. Nice. Putting on some tunes. The activity of changing your perceptions is what makes changes in posture sustainable. I don't know what to think about this. I guess that kind of like alludes that posture is in the head, right? Like it's kind of like, oh, if you just change your mind about your posture, your physics will change. But I mean, I'm not an expert of posture like the author of this book is, but it seems like there's a lot of gravitational and biological reasons that certain people's postures are certain ways. Let's see here. Cultivate healthy posture through a process of self-study. You will need to create new sense memories for what feels balanced and stable, and through the means suggested in the following chapters. Remember, your posture is a dynamic activity, not a static position that you can assume about and forget. Your posture is an ongoing perceptual process by which you orient yourself to gravity and your relationship with people, objects, and the events in your world. I like that. I think that this is something that I would like to implement more in my own life. That kind of like posture can change given external demands in the real world, and the person who is calm will go with the flow and edify their posture. I have a note here about being calm that we can link here. The science of being calm. Yeah, I think this is the one that we're looking for. And then we're going to link that here to match their environment. Can also be utilized like Shaoli. Shaoli. I don't know if Shaoli is real from Baki. This might be just fake news. Like this might not actually be a real thing, but I think it's Shaoli. Um is this it? Yeah, just relax. This is like a idea where like um Kakukayo was fighting Yujiro, who looks like Matt Dillon, by the way, and or who's based off of Matt Dillon, the actor. And Kakukayo was using Shaoli to not get broken by the attacks of Yujiro, who's the strongest person in the world. And I think that there's probably something to be said there about kind of like how a leaf in a river won't kind of capsize itself to the feelings of the river. Mm, yeah, I'm looking it up right now. Shaoli does not seem to be. There's like Shaoli Wait, Baki. Xiaoli. Does Xiaoli theoretically exist from Reddit? It doesn't exist, but the drunken fighter style. Interesting. Um, this is kind of interesting. I'm gonna highlight this and move this into the note here. This Xiaoli note because it's not real, but it seems like there's a. This opens up a whole other kind of like idea space where it's like manga will just kind of like create these random power scaling kind of like systems and then give them random names that nobody is ever going to bother googling like Xiao Li. It's pretty funny. um Yao Li, I guess it's actually spelled like Bruce Lee, but you can put that in the aliases, and then whenever I type in Xiao Li, this note will come back, which is nice to know. But I have to change it everywhere. You could, but I don't know. I'm kind of lazy. Pushing off from the toes and buttocks of each alternating back leg supports the spine, lifts the chest, and imparts a sense of power, ease, and confidence. This reminds me of the walking from exercised. Um, the biggest hurdle when walking is not to fall over. Humans only have to walk on one foot on the ground for most of each stride. As we walk, our bodies usually want to fall sideways. Um, Walking is so energy efficient, it takes months or years of small doses to add up to substantial weight losses. That's pretty crazy. This also reminds me of when Meruem walked in between Netero and dude, I'm such a fucking weeb. Meruem walked in between Netero and Zeno. There we go. I'll attack, I will attack. There's also like a plug walk video from Bart Simpson, but I don't think it's like a really video. It's more just like an audio experience. It goes plug walk. I don't want to plug talk. Plug walk. I'll attack. For now, remind yourself of the sensations you feel in the stressful moment in simple pleasure explorations. Experiment with substituting pleasurable sensations for stressful ones in common situations. This does not mean that you can turn disastrous circumstances into fun times, but simply that you refuse to allow impatience or irritation to compress, immobilize, or numb your body. I have actually an interesting thought on this where I was like using the mind control the body and the body to control the mind. Oh, I wrote mind a bunch. Fuck. Um, Maybe brain is going to be a better search. Yeah, use the mind to influence the brain. Use the brain to influence the mind. It's kind of like the idea should be to make your mind work to deal with pain in your body so that you don't get overwhelmed by it, but then also use your body to de-stress your mind, by either using the vagus nerve and your ear to kind of like um, de-stress, or more realistically using um, your environment to kind of feel calmer. So pretty cool. Get rid of these. Without its guy wires of soft tissues, an upright skeleton, no matter how perfectly aligned, would quickly collapse into a heap. It's pretty interesting. Connective tissues has different names depending on its location and function. Ligaments are the fibrous connective tissues that connect bone to bone. Tendons connect muscle to bone. The delicate membranes of the brain, blah, 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 blah. Bone is a highly mineralized form of connective tissue. The tubing around nerves and blood vessels is made of connective tissues, as are the sheaths around your muscles and organs. The latter is known as fascia. I've heard a lot about fascia, but I don't know enough about biology to really kind of like feel confident and kind of like opining on it, other than just kind of like I can like do this, thing where people are like, oh, you should rewrite things in your own words. So maybe for that, we could just do that here. So we can say that um, ligaments, and I'll probably use bullets. So like ligaments. Is there anyone in WoW named Ligmans? Because that's fucking hilarious. The fibrous connection connect bone to bone, bone to bone, tendons, muscle to bone, uh, bone equals mineralized connective tissue. Um, the tubing around nerves and blood vessels is made of connective tissues, as are the sheaths around your organs and muscles. Sheaths, fascia around muscles, organs. Yeah, nice. And then this is going to be called fascia, ligaments, and more. One thing that I will realize that if like you want to use commas in your title, aliases don't really work like this. So you have to like hit enter, and then it'll like do that, and then it'll automatically, the linter will automatically put it in there, and then you just delete the this thing, and it just automatically updates all of the other two. It doesn't update the alias stays, but yeah, I don't know why that is, but there you go. Biology here. Is that the middle of the screen? It looks like it is, actually. Like biology is like right in the middle of the screen. That's pretty cool. So now I actually don't really want to like kind of like link things back, because I'm using this ASIN method now, but I do want to copy the ASIN to the top of the page so I could easily find any um, where the quotes are used around the vault. So we're going to get rid of this to process here because we're going to almost get rid of that in a second. Okay. Walk with chest held high because it doesn't use energy. Walk with your chest held high because it's energy efficient. I received a question the other day about why use aliases instead of putting this as the title. And the reason is that if you do want to do like, there's like a lot of characters that you can't do in a file name. So if you want to do like walk, you know what I mean? Like with your head held chest high, it'll update these and it won't break the file name. Because the file name follows the file name consistently. Or consistency. What do I need to do here? So this is also biology. And then I guess like exercise, but I don't really want to tag exercise just yet. Or maybe like physical health. Maybe just physical. I don't know what makes sense. Maybe just physical. I guess physical makes sense. Physical. Sure. And then again, we don't need to link it anymore. Super great. Saves a lot of time doing like backlinks. Always trying to out here save time. Posture is a dynamic activity. Also biology. Also physical. Even though I don't like physical, one of the nice things is that like if I have more than one that's tagged, it'll show up here in Tag Wrangler with more than one, and usually there'll be certain things that I like kind of like change because I'm like, I don't really like the way that goes, you know what I mean? And then you can just like right click it and then you can hit rename. It'll automatically rename it everywhere. Okay. And then do we have anything else? Yeah, here we go. We have one more, which is muscle is supported by tendons and ligaments and fascia. And we just made that note, but we actually have to go find it again. Fascia. Right here. Fascia, ligaments, and more. Copy that. Put that guy in here. Grab this whole bitch ass. Control N. Muscles. I don't remember this was about. Outer versus it. Deeper muscles, yeah. Outer versus deeper. Again, this is kind of what I was talking about with like you wouldn't be able to use a colon in a file name in Obsidian. It would reject that, but you can put it as an alias in the title. So biology of what is it called? Physical. Physical, I guess, just kind of like physics, right? Anyway, this one was, like I said, super fast. I knew that this one was going to go really quickly because I think I remember like not really liking it when I read it all that time ago. But it was nice that it did go pretty quick, and it's only been 30 minutes into stream, and we can talk about the next book now, which is awesome. So we're going to open up the To Process Readwise, and we're going to read Rich Dad, Poor Dad. Close this guy. Let's grab the ASIN first, just to save time later, because it seems like that's something I'm going to do. Um, ASIN. Okay, Rich Dad Poor Dad by Robert T. Kiyosaki. I think I have a lot of highlights in here, but I feel like as I've gotten older, this is one of those books that I've tried to separate myself from because I think it just kind of like I found out more about the author and found out some stuff that I just like not didn't like necessarily. I do a pretty good job of separating an artist from their work, but when I started thinking about kind of like money back then, it was a much more toxic relationship than I think I have with money today, where I use money as a tool to get what I want as opposed to a status symbol nearly as much. Um, there's still really nice things that I like buying for myself and for the other people in my life. And, I do have goals financially, but I think that like right now, at least as I've kind of like fallen more in love with my habits and the things that I build, that like just chasing after dollar bills is kind of cringe, bro. Like it is one of those things where it's like you want to get rich enough to not think about money. Um, and I think it's actually a interesting creative challenge to find the lowest number in where that is the case for you. And what I mean by that is that like what is the lowest number that you would be willing to take in where you feel like, oh, I'm living the life that I kind of want to be living. Like most of this is fulfilling my lifestyle requirements as specified, kind of like by my lifestyle plan from like Cal Newport and stuff. Something to think about. Anyway, let's talk about dads. For example, one dad had a habit of saying, I can't afford it. The other dad forbade these words to be used. He insisted I ask, how can I afford it? One is a statement, and the other is a question. One lets you off the hook, the other forces you to think. In general, yeah, I mean, I agree with this. I think that it's important to look for a window when there's no doors open type situation, especially when it comes to kind of like opportunities of like things, right? So there's a lot of items in our modern era which are relatively comparable. So it's like you can have a nice car or you can have a car, but they both are cars and they're both actually held under the same laws. So it's just kind of like, what is the, again, almost the minimum amount of car that you'd be willing to drive and be happy behind the wheel of? Not necessarily something I really want to turn into a Zettel, at least yet, but like I can bold something. Um, so, but maybe I'll come back and look at it. Maybe I won't. I'm a rich man, and rich people don't do this. Even when he was flat broke after a major financial sit back, chilling. He continued to refer to himself as a rich man. He would cover himself by saying, there's a difference between being poor and being broke. Broke is temporary, poor is eternal. Again, this is probably one of the reasons I separated from this book. I think that, like, again, being poor and broke, sure, there is some nuance there. And sure, it depends on kind of like what a person decides money is used for to provide quality of life, and like a certain salary can go nowhere in one place and go everywhere in another place in terms of the things that you can buy with it. But in general, that's kind of a loaded statement because it's like really kind of unprovable. It's like kind of like a bad explanation, and like to say that something is like eternal, you really have to be like you really have to make a strong point to say that something is eternal, and I don't think this is making that strong of a point. If you learn life's lessons, you will do well. If you're not, life will just continue to push you around. People do two things. Some just let life push them around. Others get angry and push back. But they push back against their boss or their job or their partner. They do not know that it's life that's pushing. Again, yeah, just kind of whatever burger. If you realize that you're the problem, then you can change yourself, learn something, and grow wiser. Most people want everyone else in the world to change but themselves. Let me tell you, it's easier to change than yourself than everyone else. The poor and middle class work for money, the rich have money work for them. This is kind of like something that before I kind of got into investing was something that I didn't really kind of like consider too deeply. The whole idea of kind of like putting your money in vehicles that kind of like bring money in later for you. Um, but this book doesn't really kind of like elucidate that clearly enough compared to like other books that I read down the line, which I think are phenomenal financial books. And I'm excited to get to them on stream because there's certain books that have kind of like had a really big impact on how I think about money in general. Um, just know that it's fear that keeps most people working at a job, the fear of not paying their bills, the fear of being fired, the fear of not having enough money, and the fear of starting over. That's the price of studying to learn a profession or trade than working for money. Most people become a slave to money and then get angry at their boss. Yeah, I agree with that. Um, I think broadly speaking, hold on, I'm gonna check Twitch real quick to make sure that my thing is still up. Checking, checking, checking. This is what's happening. Just letting people know. Can I hear myself? Testing audio. It like keeps freezing whenever I check it on my phone. Oh my god. I keep dropping frames. I have to like disconnect from Wi-Fi. I can only have one device on Wi-Fi at a time. It's crazy. Okay, I think I'm good. I think I'm on good. I think I'm on good. I think I'm on good, 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 good. Am I good? Is good? Is good? Yeah, it's fine. Okay. Where was I? Yeah, so fear that keeps most people working at a job is something that I agree with broadly speaking. I think that fear is another way that people talk about kind of like golden handcuffs without having a kind of like satisfying self answer for why they stay at a job. It's like the fear of loss aversion is actually um like all of these fears are based around losing, right? So we so loss aversion is going to be the milk parable. It's crazy how sometimes you remember just random things. Coconut milk, interesting. Uh, the parable of the milk. So it's like this is like loss aversion again. So I'll do this and then I'm gonna call it milk. I wonder if I just have aversion in any of my Zettles. I do. The paradox of loss, aversion, and regret seems like it would make more sense to link actually. Yeah, but I can do this. I can comma, and then I can just grab this link here. Another question I seem to field a little bit is kind of like why use these um, UIDs instead of using the like file name and then just linking it, because I could do this, right? Like I could grab like the word working, for example, and then put a bar here and then do that, right? And then that becomes like a link. So it's like, why don't I do that? That one makes more sense than the other one. But basically the reason that I don't do it is because I like to actually kind of like have these serve as like Dewey Decimal links. So like I'm trying to build a little bit more resilience towards seeing these IDs and not just being like, oh, it's just a fucking list of numbers, and instead being like, this is a meaningful representation to something. Anyway, wait, what was this? Working? Yeah. So working from a place of scarcity turns into a principal. So this is another thing, the principal agent problem that I haven't even really talked about on stream yet. I don't know if I have anything about it in my. Oh, here we go. In any situation where you can spot spillover effects like a polluting factory, look for an externality like bad health effects lurking nearby. Fixing it will require. Oh, Jesus Christ. Fixing it will require intervention by fiat or by setting up a marketplace system. Public goods are particularly acceptable to the tragedy of comets via the free rider problem. Beware of situations with asymmetric information because they can lead to principal agent problems. Be careful when basing rewards on measuring incentives. Short termism can easily lead to the accumulation of technical debt. Only 1.5%. Okay, so when she sells her own house. Okay, yeah, so this is like a good example of the principal agent problem right here. So I'm going to take this and get rid of this. And now that I don't need to leave this open, that's actually really great. The principal agent problem. Only 1.5% of the purchase price goes into your agent's pocket. So on the sale of your $300,000 house, her take is 18,000 in commission for 4,500. Not bad. But what if the house is actually worth more than 300K? Blah blah blah. 310. After that, it puts an additional 9,400 in your pocket, but then she takes $150. It turns out that the real estate agent keeps her own home on the market 3 days longer and sells an extra 3+%. When she sells her own house, the agent holds out for the best offer. When she sells yours, she encourages you to take the first best offer that comes along. Why not? Her share of the offer is too puny of an incentive to do otherwise. I had an experience with this in New York City. Where it felt like my broker was trying to offload me into an apartment as quickly as possible to get their cut and move on to different clients. In general, I try to avoid working with people who have conflicting incentives to my own. Apartment. VCs fall into this example, but I'll footnote that here. So let's grab this and then we'll go over here and we'll call this the principal agent problem. And then we can call this game theory and economics. One of the reasons I avoid VCs and their incentive is effectively opposite of founder. VC culture. I know I keep like ripping on VCs. I feel like every fucking stream, but like I just really want to get across that like VC culture is basically just loan sharking. It's like you sometimes need it to like build technology, and sometimes you can like make a deal with a company where it's going to be incentively good for them too. But at the end of the day, they're trying to maximize their incentive of this principal agent problem, and you're trying to maximize yours, and that's all there is to it. So anyway. I have mixed feelings about this typewriter thing, by the way. It's like some weird jumping, but at the same time, it is nice to have it in the middle of the screen and not have to like actually slide it up on stream and stuff like that. Okay. He understood that every person has a weak and needy part of their soul that can be bought, and he also knew that every individual also has a part of their soul that was resilient and could never be bought. I don't know. I don't know. People's lives are forever controlled by two emotions: fear and greed. True. First, the fear of being without money motivates us to work hard, and then once we get that paycheck, once we pee in our check, greed or desire starts us thinking about all the wonderful things that money can buy. Oh, yeah, sure. Rich people included, said Rich Dad. In fact, the reason that rich people are rich, isn't because of desire, but because of fear. They believe that money can eliminate the fear of being poor, so they amass a ton of it, only to find that the fear gets worse. Now they fear losing money. I have friends who keep working and working, even though they have plenty. I know people who have millions who are more afraid now than when they were poor. They're afraid of losing it all. Yeah. So like, um, again, it hurts. It hurts more to lose than to fear to gain, which is what we talked about with the right up here with uh, the paradox of loss aversion. So we can just grab that here, and then we can also talk about if we're so rich, why do we keep working? Um, there's an article that I read about that. That's like, if we're so rich, we are so rich. Let's try so rich. Hmm. Psychology of Money is one of actually the great books that I was talking about with money. Way better than Rich Dad Poor Dad. Way, way better. If I had to like suggest one of the two, and someone was like, I need a book to read about finance, and these are my two options, I would say Psychology of Money, hands down. Not even close. Not even in the same fucking stratosphere. Um, but anyway, I can't find this keep working. All right. Let me find this blog post. So hashtag, I'll like make a thing to link, oops, to link and to process blog post about if we're so rich. Why do we keep working? Maybe it was a video, but I thought it was a blog. They don't want to lose the big houses, the cars. They want to worry about what their friends say when they lost all their money. Many are emotionally desperate and neurotic, although they look rich and have money. So is a poor man happier? No, I don't think so. The avoidance of money is just as psychotic as being attached to money. That's pretty based. And I think that that's actually related to this one right above too. And then did I bold anything here? Bold that. Again, I'm trying to remember to like bold something in all of the one notes that I take, just because it's easier to kind of like skim. No, that would be a waste of time, said the rich dad. Emotions are what make us human. The word emotion stands for energy and motion. I don't know about that. Be truthful about your emotions and use the mind and emotions in your favor, not against yourself. So you've been talking about the fear of not having money. How does the desire for money affect our thinking? Mike said. How did you feel when I tempted you with the pay raise? Did you notice your desires rising? We nodded our heads. By not giving into your emotions, you are able to delay your reactions when you think. That is important. We will always have the emotions of fear and greed. From here on in, it's imperative for you to use those emotions to your advantage, and for the long term, not to let emotions control your thinking. Again, I don't know. You mean the moment that I picture a new baseball glove, candy, and toys that's like a carrot to a donkey, Mike said? Yes, and as you get older, the toys get more expensive. A new car, a boat, a big house to impress your friends, said Rich Dad with a smile, with a smell. He smelled pretty bad. Um, Fear pushes you at the door and desire calls to you. That's the trap. That's pretty cool too. And that kind of also just ties into here with like you never keep up with the Joneses, right? We already had a note on that from one of our previous Joneses. Copy this guy. And then you can't ever keep up with the Joneses after all. And then this is going to be Jones. Soon there will be a horrifying gap between the rich and the poor. That chaos will break out and another great civilization will collapse. History proves that great civilizations collapse when the gap between the have and the have-nots is too late. Sadly, America is on the same course because we haven't learned from history. We only memorize historical dates. Yeah, so history proves that great civilizations. So this is also is Ray Dalio's Principles of Why Nation States Fall talks about this, and I think he talks about Ray Dalio. Okay, maybe like principles of dealing. Yeah, I don't know why that didn't come up when I searched Ray Dalio. Whatever. The big cycle. Um, Anyone who studies economic history could see that no government lasts forever, and almost everyone is surprised when they fall to ruin. That's really funny. Unless you're Roman concrete, apparently, which has limestone um, minerals in it, or like I was just watching this. Apparently, scientists figured it out a few weeks ago that like they've been kind of like looking at why Roman concrete lasts thousands of years, and there's like a limestone composite in their concrete that basically uses water to repair cracks, which is crazy with it. This is kind of based. We are like ants, preoccupied with our jobs of carrying crumbs in our very brief lifetimes instead of having a broader perspective of the big picture of patterns and cycles, the important interrelated things driving them, where we are in cycles, and what's likely to transpire. I wanted to. Oh, here we go. Let's look at that. I saw the dramatic differences between the haves and the have-nots, which helped me understand the polarity of populism. Maybe there's like another thing here where we have like the have-nots. Let me search have-nots. Or wealth gaps is probably the more efficient term. But I should just read this still. Those places have the largest wealth gaps, the largest debt, and greatest conflicts. Highest per capita income be the cities that are the most indebted and have the largest wealth gaps, like San Fran, Chicago, New York, states like Massachusetts, New York. Facing conditions, expenditures have to be. I read today on Hacker News that 40% of like people in New York State live below the poverty line or something like that, which is fucking nuts. Facing these conditions, expenditures have to be cut. Who will to pay to fix them? The haves or the have-nots? Obviously, it can't be the have-nots. Expenditure cuts are most intolerable for those who are the poorest, so there needs to be more taxation of people who can afford to pay more. But when the haves realize that they will be taxed, they typically leave, causing the hollowing out process. Um, so that's fantastic. Okay, yeah, here we go. This is the one I was looking for. Um, this sentence: when done peacefully, large tax increases on the rich and big increases of the supply that devalue debtors' claims. When done violently, forced asset confiscations. In the U.S., capitalism and democracy were maintained. In Germany, Spain, Italy, they were not. So, yeah, so wealth moves hands. So, yeah. Wealth redistribution done proactively can extend the lifespan of a country, empire. The wider the gap, the more explosive the powder keg of let's call it revolution. I would put revolution in quotes here because it in the past it was revolution, right? Like actually wait, so this is funny, yeah. So I can be like Roman Empire, French Revolution, American Revolution, uprising, yeah, the rise, the rise of Nazism, the fall of the Weimar. Hyperinflation, man, it's terrible, especially when you're already poor. Then it's really bad. Um, so we have one so far, two, three, three or four, three or four. Learn to use your emotions to think, not think with your emotions. Funnily enough, I just want to tangent for just a second here. One of the reasons that I went back to streaming, even again to zero people, is is because I realized that like the gap in the modern American society is quickly increasing between the poor and the rich. And I think that there's a few interesting things that are happening in the entertainment kind of like internet space. One, tech is insanely subsidized. And I have a video about this on my YouTube channel where I was like, just make fucking startups. Like, you don't need to go raise a bunch of money to get your idea off the ground because these companies are basically competing each other to zero with fucking venture capital money. And two, knowledge spreads really easily for free. Information spreads for free because like kind of quote unquote information wants to be free, which I don't know if information wants to be free. It depends on your definition of free and if information can even want anything. That I feel like that argument is kind of floorless, baseless. But it is true that like it's really easy to spread information as it is to spread compared to spreading wealth through monetary policy, right? So like if you were like saying like, oh, I'm trying to get this country richer or trying to like make a policy that's going to increase the overall quality of living for my constituents, then it's actually easier to do it through a tool like knowledge than it is to do it through money, right? Because like money has to be inflationary or deflationary. And if your national bank just prints money, eventually you're just going to run out of money to print, or you're just going to cause a massive hyperinflation loop that's going to cause your whole economy to collapse. But knowledge doesn't really have, at least that we know of, a boundary. It doesn't have a cap, which is one of the reasons that like Twitter sucks so much fucking dick, is that because it like prides itself on constraint and disinformation, as opposed to kind of like the deep kind of relational work that we're doing here on this stream. Which, and I'm not grandstanding about knowledge here, I'm literally making the point that like deeper knowledge is kind of like like different roasts of coffee, where it's like if you do something that's like really deep or harder to construe, you create more wealth. And that certain ideas are worth pennies and other ideas are worth Benjamins, right? And being able to distinguish the information density of the thing that you're consuming, I think, is important. Which again brings me back to this point, right? So it's like, okay, so now we're dealing with the subsidization. We're dealing with like the rich people getting richer, specifically in my own field of technology and kind of like banks and stuff like that in the financial sector. And even though we did see a kind of like reshuffling with kind of like crypto, I think a lot of people lost money on crypto, rich and poor. So it's like basically no one made money there. But I don't know if the percentage of people who lost money was more in the poor or the rich, because there was such insane number gains in crypto because of all the rug pulls, that like it's really hard to know if like poor people got fucked harder than rich people got fucked. I don't know. Anyway, yeah, this kind of world that we live in, it seems like, there is a growth in the amount of money that the rich own. I think, I've seen some graphs, like I don't know what's true in terms of like they've done a census or something, or if they've literally just like kind of thought, okay, look, if you put $100,000 in the bank in a mutual fund, it goes up every 7% every year. How much money will you have in 70 years, right? Versus a person who only has like $15 to their name. So that gap does, by virtue of the Fortune 500 companies moving and ownership of part of the Fortune 500 companies through index funds, causes that gap to get wider. And then, as we just saw in that other quote, people who are wealthy, instead of wanting to give money back into their country to like redistribute wealth that they've gotten from the Fed that fell into their gravitational well, will just prefer to leave. Right? Which I don't necessarily blame them for. I don't think that that's like an evil thing to do. I think it's like kind of like a self-protecting rational thing to do, that can come off when tragedy of the commons is happening as evil, right? So if every rich person is doing it, it becomes an evil thing to do, because everyone is doing it that has a resource and isn't willing to kind of like contribute back at all with their money. Anyway, this was kind of a rant, but my main point is that start a Twitch stream, or I don't know, like maybe not start a Twitch stream if you're going to also be a gamer. And again, I'm doing this to 0 people, so like, fucking Ninja has 1,000 or 50,000 concurrent viewers, and same with XQC and Ludwig and shit, because they're great entertainers. And then they've also kind of built a network where the people in the network hype each other up. But if you do have good ideas, then I think it's a great way to spread wealth, and it's also a great way to actually keep wealth, because you've locked ideas and kind of like data storage all across the planet. So yeah, use this free money from a software developer. Love a software developer who hosts some of his own stuff and knows how expensive hosting can get. Love software developers. When you boys mastered your emotion by agreeing to work for free, I knew there was hope. When you again resisted your emotion when I tempted you some money, you... That's the first step, don't care. Confronting fear, weakness, and neediness by choosing your own thoughts is the way out. A job is a short-term solution to a long-term problem. Most people only have one problem in mind in the short term. It's the bills at the end of the month, the tar baby. Money controls their lives, or should I say the fear and ignorance about money controls it. So they do as their parents did. They get up every day and go to work for money, not taking the time to ask, is there another way? Their emotions are controlling their thinking and not their heads. Can you tell the difference between emotions thinking and the head thinking? Yeah, I think that this is good. A job is a short-term solution to a long-term problem is something that I think about a lot, where it's like, if you are, paying your lights and your rent and your food bill for the month and your water, but then it's like this is going to recur again next month, right? And it'll recur and recur and recur and recur. And it's like, if you don't automate parts of your life, or um, drive certain costs to zero, or figure out a way to scale up your income, you'll always be caught in that level of, like, that Venus flytrap level of vortex. So it's a oops, hold. If think as long term as possible, monthly bills will always recur. Find ways to increase income, drive costs to zero, or resell items, automate life, automate problems in life, automate problems in life. I'm a big automator. I write a bunch of scripts. I'm a big automation boy. I was just thinking the other day, like, I might end up making a Raven kind of like sidekick that's like kind of like my physical representation of what happens in my Zettelkasten. And it'll kind of be like my Rob. You know how Batman had Robin, Bram has Raven, which it turns out that Raven and Bram share an etymological root, or Bram is Raven. So there you go. The point is this: today we live in the times of greater and faster change. I suspect that there will be many booms and busts in the coming years that will parallel the ups and the downs that men faced. I am concerned that too many people are focused on money and not their greatest wealth or education. If people are prepared to be flexible, keep an open mind, and learn, they will go richer and richer despite tough changes. If they think money will solve problems, they will have a rough ride. Intelligence solves problems and produces money. This is true, 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 true. And I just was talking about this for like 5-10 minutes. Um, um, bec- Hold on, I'm gonna change my song and then I'm gonna write about this. So just like what we were talking about, wealth is created from people solving problems, right? Like, Twitch was a problem where people wanted to be entertained and they wanted to watch people live. But then there's the physical problem of having to be in the same room as a person. And then that opens up a whole security, fire risk, and everything like that. How do you get people home? What do you deal with time zones? Like, there's a bunch of sub problems that get solved by just turning on a camera in your bedroom to like watch anyone live, and then just kind of like leave, and you can go check out other streamers and stuff like that too, right? So like, there's a value that wealth is solved by problem solving. And actually, this is talked about in a book that I'm reading right now called The Beginning of Infinity, right? Where we talked about this a little bit of on in chat. And then we can talk about, let's see if wealth is in here. Nope. Let's talk about problems. Oh, that's long. This reach of explanations, it is the ability to solve problems that they are beyond to solve. The ability reach is the ability to solve problems that they were created to solve. Sure. If civilization survives, then that will be because people. Yeah, here we go. Copy this guy. I'm so glad I got this ASIN thing working, dude. So annoying to like actually go through and fucking put all these things in. These like links and all of them. So annoying. Now I can just close it. Be happy. If civilization survives, that will be because people succeed in solving the problems of survival, and that will not have happened by chance. So yeah, intelligence and creativity are the greatest only asset that people can use to generate new wealth in the world. Sieving money down from the teat of the Fed is just moving money from one Excel column to another. By solving a problem, you create demand and create reach in which that problem can solve other problems in existence. This is like a really important concept. The teat, the tit. I was just gonna say the tit of the Fed. This is what it's like, right? Like a lot of sieving money down from the tit of the Fed, interest gains and index fund hodling is just moving money from one Excel column to another while inflation continues to eat our lunch. Inflation. By solving a problem, you create demand and create reach in which that problem can solve other problems in existence. I want to hear something about reach because this guy loves his reach. Oh, next. The reach of an explanation is not a principal induction. It's not something that the creator can use or explain to. The reach is part of the creator's process, which is why reach is the ability of some explanations to solve problems beyond their creators as well. This is what I'm looking for. Actually, no, hold. Statement about what is there, what it does, and why. Gold can be created by stars and intelligent beings. Creativity is the capacity to create new explanations, which is like what is there, what it does, how and why. Empiricism is the misconception that we derive all of our knowledge from sensory experience. Theory laden is that there is no such thing as raw experience. All of our experience comes through layers of conscious and unconscious interpretation. This book slaps, man. Everyone's got to fucking read Beginning of Infinity. Some explanations solve problems beyond that they were created to solve. Great. Our school system, created in the agrarian age, still believes in homes with no foundation. Dirt floors are still the rage, so kids graduate with virtually no financial foundation. One day, sleepless in the debt of suburbia, living the American dream, they decide that the answer to their financial problems is a way to get rich quick. Construction on the skyscraper begins. It goes up quickly, and soon the Empire State Building. We have the Leaning Tower of suburbia. The Sleepless Nights return. I love this. The Leaning Tower of suburbia is really vivid imagery. And goes to show why so few great American novels have been birthed from the nook of copy paste suburbia. Rich people require assets. The poor and the middle class acquire liabilities that they think are assets. Also true. Again, I mean I've been talking a lot about kind of like um intelligence and kind of like how I think it's actually worth more than like a dollar, right? Like, and people have like a kind of like qualifiable idea that their time is worth a certain amount of money, but then they only really kind of like put it at the high level of the amount that people have offered them in the past to work. Um, when it's like, it really just depends on kind of like, again, how you value your time, right? Because time is only subtractive for the individual that lives it, right? So uh if you spend your life working on somebody else's problem and not in acquiring their liabilities, then whatever. Anyway, I think this is mostly about housing. I think that like housing isn't really a slam dunk asset the way that people think it is, especially because of the way that land is stationary. I actually have a blog post on this that I read. Search housing. Renters for life. Yeah, this is awesome. Time is going on and on it goes forever. Lived all my life and I'm turning on. Expensive college is kind of like, it is kind of a big boost compared to these two. It is one of those things that costs a lot of money but allows you to cheat, right? Yeah, this is such bad advice. Buy as much house as you can afford. For the rich, interest tax deduction is great subsidy. For everyone, the home mortgage is a lie. People in SF get their mortgages subsidized by the rest of the country. If you want to be rich, simply spend your life buying assets. If you want to be poor and middle class, spend your life buy liabilities. Assets. I would say profit earning vehicles like companies, stocks, um, I guess bonds, because you're betting that your government will exist, which is, I mean, you gotta at a certain point do that, right? Like, it would be crazy to bet against your government, not just because, I mean, like, if you live in a tyrannical government, there's a lot of like governments that are like objectively tyrannical to their people, but like betting against your government when you've made all your money from your government and your whole life is set up based around your country, because you can't really just guarantee that another country is going to take you in, right? Like if the US collapses and then we all run over to fucking France or England and be like, please take us in, they're going to be like, no. Like, leave, go find something else to do. I don't know. So bonds, star, but I'm not going to put the star in here because this is, if anyone watches this video, you'll hear bonds, star. um Knowledge is a asset right? Because again, it helps you create new wealth. Hold it together, birds of a feather, nothing but lies and broken wings. I'm going to stop after this one. My wrist is starting to hurt, and I want to take a break. Maybe watch some Survivor. I do want to finish this book, though. How many more do I have to? 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40, 41, 42, 43, 44, 45, 46, 47, 48, 49, 50, 51, 52, 53. Okay, there's a lot left. I'll do 10 more. And then I'll mark a bookmark and then log, I think, because that's a lot. Okay. So 10 more. But more money will often not solve the problem. In fact, it might compound the problem. Money makes our obvious our tragic human flaws, putting a spotlight on what we don't know. That is too often a person can suddenly come into a windfall of cash, an inheritance, a pay raise, or a lottery, and soon return to the same financial mess, if not worse than before. Money only accentuates the cash flow pattern running in your head. That's pretty based. Windfall aren't always a blessing. New money accentuates old money habits in your mind, which is probably like why it's actually better, like if you get a lot of money, to just put it away. If you get money, pretend it doesn't exist. Higher incomes cause higher taxes. A credit card comes in the mail, they use it and they max it out. A loan company calls and says that their home has appreciated in value because their credit is so good. They get a bill consolidation loan. It tells them the intelligent thing to do is to pay off their high consumer debt. More money seldom solves some of the money problems. Intelligence solves problems, which is again like automation, the things that we were talking about earlier. So I'll actually grab this and then kind of like move it up to the automation one. Why can't I breathe? If you find yourself to dug a hole, stop digging. Is the fear of public speaking greater than the fear of death? According to psychiatrists, the fear of public speaking is caused by the fear of ostracism, the fear of standing out, the fear of criticism, the fear of ridicule, the fear of being an outcast. The fear of being different prevents most people from seeking new ways to solve their problems. This is why my educated dad said that the Japanese valued power. Power of the mirror the most, for it is only when we look into it we find the truth. Fear is the main reason people say play it safe. I wouldn't say it's the main reason. I mean, like, there are logical reasons to play certain things safe and then play other things really hard. Like I said, I'm personally, as an intelligentsia kind of academic snob, I think that like pushing your lifelong learning is like, you should go as hard as fucking possible. But then there's a lot of physical things that I see people do where I'm like, what's the point of that? You know what I mean? Like, you might get like some immediate gains out of that are like kind of like adrenaline, but then you always have to like come back to it, and then it becomes kind of like a drug, I feel like, a little bit to certain people, which, you know, whatever floats your boat. But I think that's also kind of like the catastrophic risk of falling off of a cliff and just dying in, you know, to me, I think that drives that fear. I don't know if it's rational, because, you know, people who climb Everest probably feel good, but I feel like I read somewhere a really good quote where it's like, you can find the most ambitious corpses on Mount Everest, which I was like, oh, that's hard. um Here was a man who had not gone along with the crowd. Here was a man who did his own thinking, who says we have to detested the words, who said we have to do it this way because this is the way that everyone does it. He also hated the word can't. If you wanted him to do something, just say, I don't think you can do it. I have a friend like that. An intelligent person hires people who are more intelligent than he is. So Mike and I had the benefit of spending hours to listening from intelligent people. All too often, a house serves only as a vehicle for incurring for a home equity loan to pay for mounting expenses. Oh, true, dude. This goes also in that middle class uh bullshit, dude. And not only that, just houses are boring, man. I feel like a lot of people just move to houses and they're just bored, right? Because it's like a boring, like unless their lives are interesting. I'm not saying don't buy a house. I'm saying that you should understand the difference between an asset and a liability. When I buy a bigger house, I buy assets uh, that will generate enough cash flow to pay for the house. His expenses match his income, never allowing him to invest the over assets. Yeah. Oh, I'm just going to move this up here too. I like to keep things like things together. And if my brain tells me that they belong together, then they belong together. And that's it. That's the power of the Zettelkasten, is that you can just do that. Um, Supposedly represents average mutual fund buyers are too busy working to pay taxes and mortgages, save for their college. They do not have the time to study investing, so they rely on the manager of a mutual fund. Also, because mutual fund includes many different types of investments, they feel their money is safer because it's diversified. The educated middle class subscribes to the dogma, uh, play it safe and avoid risk. I agree and I disagree. Like I said, I'm index fund Andy, not financial advice, but I've found that like it's a really good vehicle because of its like boringness almost. Like it's just way too easy to kind of like spend a bunch of time and think you know more than the market and then just get your ass lit on fire like we've seen with countless crypto scams. This will be the last one. As I said at the start of this section, the most important rule is to know the difference between an asset and a liability. Once you understand the difference, concentrate on income generating assets. That's the best way to get rich. Keep doing that, your asset column will grow. Keep liabilities and expenses down so more money is available to continue pouring the asset column. Soon, assets will be so deep that you can afford to look at more speculative investments. Um, yeah, in general, yeah, I agree with this. It's like you just want to keep moving assets forward. So I'm going to put a bookmark here, which I realized that I could use the term bookmark, and I just literally like face palmed because like before I was doing like left off or something crazy stupid. The fear of being different. Yeah, I didn't put anything on there though. Windfalls aren't always a blessing. Windfalls aren't always a blessing. And then this is going to be economics. And then we're going to go here, and then we're going to say a home and a car aren't assets. A home is a pretty bad asset. It's a bad asset. A home is a bad ass at. That's pretty funny. Again, I go back and forth on this, because there's like the teal fund and stuff like that, where people are like, "Oh, you can just," but that's still doing the thing that college is doing. You're trying to find smart people who you can game skip life with. The Leaning Tower of Suburbia. Yeah, dude, I love that. Um, I think now that I'm thinking about it, these are all finance, not economics. Whoops. Can't do much about that. Oh, I can. Finance. Look at that. Look at that. Intelligence is the only way to create new wealth. Intelligence is the only asset. Is this the same thing? Oh, no, this just has to go here. Maybe intelligence is the core asset. Intelligence is the core of your asset portfolio. Because intelligence is like judgment, like choosing good investments, choosing bad investments, being able to discipline yourself to not do certain things because you know that like sugar is bad for you or staying up late is too bad for you. All of these pile on from what you know, right? What you know and what you don't know, and what you don't know that you don't know that you do know, that you do know that you don't know that you don't that you do. Da, da, da. Based. Don't think in the monthly bill in the month to month timeline. Timeline. Da, 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 da. This is also finance. And then save that. Wealth gaps kill countries. Wealth gaps kill empires. History. Finance. This is economics, right? Because this is economic scale when you have that many people. It's not just like an individual person's like finances where they could have made a better decision. Uh, fear. Fear and the Joneses. It's weird because like yeah, it's like it masks itself as desires, but it's actually just like game theory. Desire. It's fear masked as desire. Fear masked as desire to want is a fear of being excluded due to not having, which is actually the thing that's below the desire. Um, how many more do I have? Okay, just one. Nice. Working from a place of scarcity. Yeah. Uh, you stay in your job because you uh hate your job, hate loss more, hate job, hate loss more. Get me off this farm. You see, this one didn't get rid of it in the alias. See what I'm talking about? Orange. Get out of here, bro. Get out of here, bro. Get me off this farm. I think it's like Stan. Oh, it was just literally get me off this farm. Get me off this farm. Get me off this farm. And that's it. I mean, still more to process, right? We left a bookmark, but we did good. We got through a book and a half, and I'm going to hit the publish because I like doing that on the stream because it feels good to see. 4 notes changed, 13 new notes added. So we can just select all, hit publish. another successful day. I will be back tomorrow with more of this, maybe even 2 streams instead of just 1, because I am rocking and rolling. I'm having a good time. I'm making a lot of new interesting thoughts and then uploading the videos and then using them as another medium for my Zettelkasten. It's freaking amazing. So awesome. Have a good day. Goodbye.